So, Antonio Conte there talking about the ramifications of finishing 4th or 5th, but as from 2024, Kaveh, they might not even have to discuss that. Tell us why.
Yeah, I think from 2024, there's a good chance that finishing 5th in the Premier League will be enough to get you a place in the Champions League. What is happening is that from 2024, the Champions League is expanding from 32 teams to 36 teams. There's been a lot of debate, arguments about how you award those 4 extra places. And what's been agreed today, the UEFA Executive Committee are meeting in Vienna, and they have agreed that 2 of these extra 4 places are going to go to, this is how they're going to work it out. So they'll look at the record of all the teams playing in Europe this season. The teams, their records, and they'll say, OK, the best performing teams this season in Europe have come from England and Holland. So we're going to reward them each with an extra Champions League place. And that extra Champions League place, as far as England are concerned, will go to the team who finished 5th in the Premier League. At the moment, that team is Spurs. Last season, who finished 5th, it was Leicester. So if those rules had been in place, Leicester would have qualified for the Champions League, Spurs would qualify this season. And looking at the history of which countries do best in European competitions, more often than not, it is English teams and Spanish teams.
Yeah.
So going forward, we're going to get a scenario where basically 5th place in the Premier League is almost going to guarantee you a place in the Champions League.
Is this good news or bad news, do you think?
If you are a traditionalist, I think it's bad news. I remember the days when we had the European Cup and only the champions...
So the champions, yeah.
Only the champions would get into it.
Yeah.
This whole league is called the Champions League. We've got the situation where finishing 2nd got you in, then finishing 3rd, then finishing 4th. Now finishing 5th is going to get you in as well. So a lot of people will be very uneasy about it. Also, a quarter of the teams in the Premier League are going to get into the Champions League. What about other countries? What about the champions of Poland, the champions of Croatia? They will have to go through qualifying stages. Only one of them can get into it. I just think it's almost gone too far now. But UEFA have been forced to act because the big clubs want more games, more competitive games, more big games and more revenue.
So they're sort of saying that the Premier League has got bigger clubs in it, basically, and they don't really care for the likes of the champions of Poland. Is that what they're saying?
What has happened is that the so-called big clubs tried to set up the European Super League last year. That didn't work out, so they've been putting pressure on UEFA through the European Club Association to try and get into the Champions League more, because they don't want the situation where, in their eyes, big clubs like Manchester United, big clubs like AC Milan are missing out on the Champions League regularly, and they want another way of getting into the Champions League.
But dare I say it, that's their fault. If they've missed out, they didn't qualify, they weren't the champions. So
but that's not the way they think. They just think about themselves and their own self-interest. So I think that's one issue about the extra places. The other big issue that I think is going to be very, very controversial is the new look of the actual Champions League, because we're going from 8 groups of 4 teams in the initial group stages to one league table of 36 teams, and I think that is going to be really complicated, and people are going to really have to think hard to get their heads around it.
Yeah, it's going to be basically 36 teams, and you've got the bottom club potentially paying the top club. And
so what happens is it's a league of 36 teams, but they're not all going to play each other.
No.
There's not time to do that. They're each going to play 8 games, and they're not going to be playing the same opponents. They're going to be playing different opponents based on rankings. Now, what will happen then, and this is where it gets really complicated and controversial, is out of this 36-team league table, after you've played your 8 games, the top 8 will qualify for the knockout stage round of 16. Then the teams who finish 9th to 24th...
Oh, hang on, this is a whole new level.
So if you finish from 9th to 24th, you'll be in a playoff. And the 8 winners of those playoffs will also go into the knockout stage. So, technically, you can finish 24th in the initial league table and still go on and win the Champions League and lift the European Cup. And also, UEFA have just released a press release outlining what is going to happen. Right at the end, the last paragraph, they say similar format changes will also be applied to the UEFA Europa League and UEFA Europa Conference League. Both will also include 36 teams in the league phase. So
wow.
All three competitions, Champions League, Europa Conference League.
How far down are we going in the Premier League then, playing in Europe? We could be looking at 10.
It's almost going to be harder not to qualify for Europe than it is to qualify for Europe. It is getting to the stage where almost all the teams who finish in the top half of the Premier League will get into Europe.
But that means more games as well. I mean, when managers are crying out for less games, you're going to, or were those, if you finish in the top 8, then would you have potentially less games because you wouldn't be in this cluster of 9 to 24 doing the...
Well, look, you've got the situation. I think you're referring to the fact that we're hearing from managers complaining about fixture congestion, saying we're playing too many games. They're saying that, but the owners of their clubs want them to play more games. So instead of maybe complaining to the media, taking out on journalists, they need to be speaking to the people who employ them, because the club owners are the ones who want more games, more big games, more revenue. And that's what we saw with the failed attempt to set up a European Super League. But I think this league table is going to take some getting used to, and also the fact that finishing 5th is going to get you into the so-called Champions League. I think that's going to take some getting used to as well.
And, you know, I know we're running out of time, but I could do a whole part on this. But, you know, bottom line is that Manchester City and Liverpool and whoever can be helping their arch rivals
exactly
to get into them now.
So teams who always qualify for the Champions League at the moment, Liverpool, Manchester City, if they perform well, they are opening up a back door for one of their rivals like Manchester United, if United can get their act together and actually finish 5th. But then, in that scenario, United would be getting into the Champions League, piggybacking off the success of their rivals, Liverpool and Manchester City.
Oh, goodness me. Oh, well, thanks for clearing all that up.